we could come to order, please, I appreciate it. I would ask the city attorney to make any statement for us, please.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. The City Council is in closed session this evening on two items. The first item was conference with legal counsel regarding the possible initiation of litigation on an undisclosed case. The council did authorize the commencement of litigation, and the particulars relating to the matter, as well as the names of the defendants, will be publicly disclosable after the action has been formally commenced. The second item was public employee performance review, city manager, and there's no reportable action on that item.
Okay, thank you. We will now reconvene back over to Galt regular city council meeting at 7:06. If I could have the roll call, please.
Okay,
Sorry.
council members Payne. Here. Claire.
Here.
Haynes.
Here.
Meredith. Shelton.
Here.
And can I add, Councilmember Meredith is on his way, should be here shortly.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask everyone to stand for a silent prayer, moment of silence, and please remain standing for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we could have the video statement, please.
This meeting of the Galt City Council is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel, on the Comcast and SureWest cable systems. Tonight's meeting can be seen on Channel 14 and will also be webcast at www.sexmetrocable.tv this Friday and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Tonight's meeting can also be seen via live video streaming on the city's website at www.ci.galt.ca.us. A VHS copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address council should fill out a speaker identification form and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing council and state your name for the record.
Okay. We will now move into agenda approval, additions, or deletions. Council members, are there any?
I have none.
None?
Nope.
Nope. Oh, okay. We will move into presentations. I believe we have, what, 4?
You
Okay. I guess I'm on.
read them all, or
Pardon me?
you want me to read them all off?
Sure, if you would.
We have 4 items. A proclamation recognizing Creek Week community volunteers. Another proclamation, Dry Creek Cleanup Earth Day, recognizing volunteers from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Another proclamation, Mormon Helping Hands 2010, Renewing California Parks Proclamation. And a presentation, a Customer Service Award to Craig Walton. We'll start with the Creek Week. You have the person on there. I think that's Diane.
Is it,
Diane Christensen.
Oh, Diana.
Do you want to wait and see if she shows up?
Yeah,
Let's do Creek
Okay.
Week last.
We'll move that.
Yeah.
Kind of move it around? Okay. Just let me know what you want me to do.
Very bottom.
Okay, accepting the proclamation is Dan. Sorry.
Stroh?
Okay, Dan. Actually, is there a few words you'd like to say?
Well, if at this moment, and actually if Bishop and Todd, if you come up, I was just going to say, Mayor Shelton and Vice Mayor Payne, if you remember, we first met in, I think it was in December, and at that time you made some suggestions of projects that you thought would be viable and important, and I'm just happy to report this much later that almost every one of the suggestions that you provided, your city staff was great, along with the Historical Society, in working through those, and we accomplished, I think, all of them. And so maybe in the not too distant future, we'll be start looking at round 2, which will be a great thing of what we could do next. But we had more than 320, about 320 volunteers out on that Saturday doing projects, everything from the Ray House to McFarland Ranch to the Sound Wall to, you know, a number of other parks and things around. And just would really give our appreciation to Mr. Behrman and also to Boyce and to Troy and to Ron Jacobson and Gary, you know, the Historical Society people. They're terrific to work with and made our job that much easier. So we're thrilled to be able to actually here to say thank you. We're getting a proclamation, but we're saying thank you to you for making it so easy. Thanks. Thank you. I'm sorry, this is Bishop Johnson from one of the congregations in Galt and Todd Messerschmidt representing the other here, accepting this proclamation. The kind Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
I wasn't going to read everything, but I know that you say you had 325? 320? I think that just deserves a applause right there. You know, which we all know, and we're in different civic organizations and nonprofits. You know, we have 50 or 500 people, and when you say you're going to have a work day or whatever, and you feel real good when, you know, 50 show up. But if you have that many, and I know it was something that you guys were doing all over, and we really appreciate it, you know, from my heart. I really appreciate you guys. This proclamation basically is to, by the city of Galt and Galt, California, recognizing the Mormon Helping Hands 2010. I believe that's what we're calling it. And so every year, what are we going to just change the year? Okay, well, good. Yeah, renewing California parks. So you're the organization is involved in more than just this city. You've helped all over. Apparently, it was on May the 8th, and as you said, the McFarland Ranch, various parks, painted tables, benches, signs, repaired, did some work out at Dead Man Gulch. You painted the A Street sound wall, fence repair at the Ray House, and all that work out at McFarland. I know that the whole community appreciates it. And I know when you guys got done, you probably had a real good feeling. So, okay. Thank you again. Thank you. Dan? Yeah, one without me. Yeah. But, yeah, but you're the main contact person.
We won't worry about that. We'll hold it in front of you, Mayor. There you go. Thank you.
I would just warn you that whenever you call to look for work or projects, we can always find them.
That's good.
Which one are we going to do next, Liz?
Actually, you can do Creek Week. Diane is here.
Okay. I put them in the order you asked me to put them in.
Diane, do you want to come on up?
Diane, would you come up, please? While you're coming forward, a proclamation by, you can come right up here, by the City of Galt, California, recognizing Greek Creek Week. Sorry, I'll get it out in a minute. Recognizing Creek Week in the City of Galt. And is Sabrina not going to be able to make it?
Sabra isn't here.
Sabra? Okay, Ambrose.
It in her.
Okay. Right, I didn't know if she was running late or something. But you did, your group did extensive cleanup at Dead Man Gulch. And apparently you had, is it like 50 youth and volunteers, adults?
Yes.
April 17th? I understand you filled, 50-gallon garbage bags of debris from the area. and we really appreciate it. So you'll be out there every weekend, right? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
After the library closes, yeah.
After the library, right. Okay. Was there anything you'd like to say on behalf of your group?
Just that Sabra was extremely happy with the results, and she had mentioned to me before that this sort of activity was so heartwarming because it brought together families from all over Galt to do such a tremendously positive thing. Children that didn't know each other from different schools worked together, and it was just an excellent experience.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For those of you who don't realize that Diane Christensen is our librarian and very involved in a lot of programs.
Thank you.
You have Sabra.
Okay, now the Adventist Church
Is it Curtis?
Dry Creek Cleanup Earth Day.
Are you Curtis?
Yes.
Randy?
And Bill.
And Bill? Thank you. Thank you. And again, a proclamation by the City Council, City of Galt, recognizing the Galt Seventh-day Adventist Church for its participation in the Galt Earth Day. And that was on April 25th. Apparently you had 12 volunteers from your church that went out and you did clean up at the Dry Creek area, and we really appreciate it. You worked in the morning hours, collected 2 truckloads of debris, I guess. Wow. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we deem it a privilege to be involved. We worked along the Dry Creek area last year, and it was a lot more involved. This year it was pretty clean. So we got up on the South Galt area and toward the bridge, and we had some work there. But we enjoyed being involved in the community.
Good. Good. We thank you very much. Thank you. Carolyn, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the Customer Service Award. Craig, you want to come up, and Lauren or Jason?
I'll just step up and you do it.
Come on, Chief, come on. All right, it's my privilege to stand before you and present what we're calling our Above and Beyond Award. It's an employee recognition award that we give to employees that the city manager and department head feels have gone above and beyond the normal call of business and duty. In this case, we'd like to honor Sergeant Galt for his efforts in transitioning the city from a 450 megahertz system to an 800 megahertz system. And not everybody might understand what that means, but our old system didn't allow us to communicate with other agencies in the county. We couldn't communicate with fire, we couldn't communicate with Sac County or the other agencies. It made it very difficult to coordinate efforts. And we were the only city, an agency in the county that was on the other system, my understanding. And so it's been about a 3-year process with Sergeant Walton kind of leading that effort to get funding in place. We were able to secure some grant funding to make that happen. A lot of technical issues had to be worked out, a lot of effort on Craig's part getting up to speed, and really, I think he really likes the radio stuff, and so it's kind of a labor of love, I think, getting involved and digging in there and trying to figure out how to get these two systems connected and get the city kind of into the 21st century and get us communicating with the other agencies in the county. It involved putting a new tower out at our wastewater treatment plant, a microwave tower that would allow us to communicate with this county-wide system. A huge undertaking, hundreds of thousands of dollars in effort, and we're finally to the point now where we are operational, correct? It went live, last week?
It's live, and we're migrating over next week.
Okay. Okay. So, huge accomplishment. Let me just read one thing here that was submitted from Craig's supervisor to give you a sense of his, how he was integral in this process. As Sergeant Walton has been an exemplary staff member and simply doing what was in the best interest of the department and community without consideration for the volume of numerous hours he invested in this project, meeting with other technical experts, meeting with representatives from both SRCS and Motorola, identifying and securing hardware, software programming, hardware modification. There was simply no aspect of this project that was too large or small that doesn't have Sergeant Walton's prints all over it. Sergeant Walton's contribution to this project led the way in making communications interoperability not only possible but also a reality. Galt PD has now joined other regional public safety partners on the same communication system, which has not only enhanced critical officer safety for our staff members, but it shall provide a much improved system that will serve this community for years to come. Sergeant Walton's professional dedication and selflessness was truly the driving force behind the successful completion of this project. So for that, we'd like to honor Sergeant Walton and his accomplishments. We're giving Craig two gifts. One is this Above and Beyond award for the city's appreciation, and the other is a certificate. Let me you and another people that want to do pictures, and the mayor and the chief. Everyone, you want to say anything?
Jason, you don't know me well enough that you put a microphone in front of me. First of all, thank you for the recognition. I really appreciate it. And Mayor Shelton, I'm sorry I was failed to follow simple instructions. I didn't wear my Class A uniform, but I'm working tonight. The project as a whole, I have to thank Chief Catalico because of his perseverance, excuse that, it couldn't have been put together and it never would have worked. And it's equally important to that is the council's continuous support, because not only financially, but in the big scheme of things, this project, it goes on for years. As the city gets bigger, it expands out, and it requires more effort on the city's part, and I really appreciate the city council supporting the project. It's not only good for the officer safety, it's good for the community. It enables us to interact with the other agencies within the county, not just for emergency calls, but everyday operations. We're able to talk back and forth with the Sheriff's Department, which we have not been able to do for over 15 years. It does not require us to pick up a phone to call Elk Grove Police Department to either ask for help or provide assistance if they need it. We can simply get on the radio, turn the dial, and we're there. It makes everybody in the outlying areas and the community a much safer place for law enforcement and fire response. And I do appreciate not only the recognition, but the support of the council in these projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work and effort.
Thank you. Good job.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes?
if I could add, this gentleman and his wife have been going above and beyond the call of duty for as long as I've known them in their service to the city. I think most of us are aware they provide time at their own expense and bring their horses and do mounted patrol at things like the Strawberry Festival. I know they've sponsored foreign exchange students, and the list goes on and on. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Before we move on, the remark about the Class A uniform, I saw him out in the front, and I says, hey, wait a minute, I was told you're supposed to wear your Class A uniform. Good job. And Chief, thank you. Okay, we will move into consent calendar. If you could read those off for me, please.
Sure. Number one, approval of the minutes of the special and regular meetings of May 4th, 2010. Number two, approval of the City of Galt warrants. Number three, conflict of interest code, City of Galt. Number four, street closure request, Galt Youth Baseball. Number five, approval of the Sacramento Regional Radio Communication Systems, 800 megahertz radio contract. Number six, Sacramento Countywide Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan update. Number seven, Creek Week proclamation recognizing community volunteers. Number eight, Dry Creek cleanup, Earth Day proclamation recognizing volunteers from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And number nine, Mormon Helping Hands 2010, renewing California Parks proclamation.
Before we go for a motion, I got a finger point that said I passed up the public comments. Sorry. If we could go back to that.
I can go back.
Thanks.
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the audience may address the council on any item of interest to the public or on any agenda item before or during consideration of the item. Please fill out a speaker sheet located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers and forward the completed speaker sheet to the city clerk prior to addressing the council. We request that you state whether you live within the Galt city limits or the county area. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker. Reuben Epstein and Jorge. I'm going to say the name wrong. How do you say it, Jorge? Dueñas.
Okay, my name is Reuben Epstein, and I live in the city of Galt, and I have two things tonight.
My name is George Dueñas. My father has a business in town, and I'm here to back up Reuben.
First of all, according to what I see in the papers, fairly soon, I guess, we'll be finding 2 new replacements for city council membership. And in the past, when the council has chosen people, and I'm not sure what the criteria was at the time, we usually ended up with big arguments and people threatening recalls or trying to do recalls because they were upset. And in talking about it, my wife had a pretty good idea. And I guess the state limits to just a couple of different options what a city council can do to find new members. So I think one of them is like we've done before. They have to be appointed. What we would like to suggest is that the basis of appointment is the previous election. That whoever had the most votes but didn't get elected to the council has the first chance at taking a seat, assuming that they were still interested, and then so on down the line. That way, they are appointed by the city council, but the method of choosing is based on the election, which to some extent is the will of the people, and people can't come back and say, the council did it and there was this hidden agenda or that hidden agenda. It's all clear cut, and for people who want transparent government, this is about as transparent as it's going to get. The second item is the City Council and several other groups in Galt, Chamber of Commerce and the Galt Business Builders, have all been promoting Shop in Galt. One of the ways that people know to shop in Galt is they have to know what businesses there are, where they are. Recently, and I don't know all the details of it, but there were a number of signs, flags, banners, whichever term you want to use, that sprouted up, literally, around the city. They're cloth, they're on metal poles that go into a tube that's in the ground. They're probably around 10 feet tall, maybe 2 or 3 feet wide. Apparently, they are made beforehand, so you don't order them for your business, but it says barbershop, and I think that one's still up. It might say lunch, it may say tacos, depending on what kind of business they were by. And these were bought and paid for by the businesses. And then I discovered that after a short time, the code enforcement went around and said that they have to come down because it didn't meet various requirements that the city has for flags, banners, signs, so on, and I guess also permitting. What I would like to suggest is, because I thought they looked really neat, that the city put together an easily understood form explaining to the merchants and bearing in mind that some of the merchants have English as a second language, so they're not going to be as easily understood by them as the instructions might be to somebody else. And that this information be available, because what I heard is that they could use these kinds of things for sales or special events, and I don't know what the limits or requirements are, whether it's once a month, so on. You see people in front of some of the businesses like Round Table Pizza jumping up and down at lunchtime with sales. You know, come in and we have a luncheon special, and I guess there's no restriction on that. But if we could allow these banners to be used and make it clear to the people when they could be used and how they could be used, it might help get more people shopping in Galt. And as I say, I thought they looked pretty attractive. I thought it made things look a little more interesting. So I'm hoping that the city can work with the Merchants Chamber of Commerce, put together something in the way of information that the people can use, and you know, they've already bought a lot of them, and to make some profit from them, and also increasing businesses in Galt. And Jorge or George, depending on your preference, his father owns El Rodeo. They had, I think he said, 4 of them. So we were talking, and he said, you know, he wanted to come and back me up, and if there are any questions, he can help answer them.
On that subject, it had come up to me, and I went out myself, and I was out at the barber shop by chance, and I'd looked at their banner, and it was quite professional, and it looked good. And I talked to Rick, the barber there, and the owner. I understood what he was saying, but before we would make a decision, or before we go to that point, and I'm agreeing with what you're saying, is would it be possible that we could ask staff for a report so we know what the current how the current ordinance reads, and what other possibilities we have, what we can do, because we really do need to reach out and help these small businesses. So anything that we can do that will enhance their business, I would like to see that we do it. So do I need to get direction, Mayor? Is this something we can look at, get some information brought back to us so we can make an educated decision?
I agree with you. We'll see what other council members feel, is give direction to staff.
Okay.
And come back.
I had a question for
Sure.
Kurt, Mayor. Was this something that was self-initiated by code enforcement, or did we receive a complaint that initiated this?
I don't know. I was at another group, the Character Coalition meeting, and we were talking about the banners that they do, and I mentioned that, you know, had anybody seen these other ones, because I thought they were really attractive. And one of the members of that group is Barbara Payne, who's also on the city council, and she said, well, they had all just come down because code enforcement, and I don't know if they discovered it or somebody complained, I have no idea where it came from, that they didn't meet certain requirements. And again, I don't know the details of what those requirements are.
Thanks, Ruben. I was actually directing the question to Kurt. But, thanks. You answered a lot of it already.
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
I'm not aware that there were any actual complaints. I know that staff did observe them and knew that they were in violation, and then did notify the property owners.
Okay. I also received some complaints. I don't know if Dawn's came via the telephone or not, but I think some of the businesses on Lincoln Way were especially sensitive because they've got the facade improvement taking place, and a lot of people are confused as to where the businesses are, and they felt that this was just another marketing tool that was helping them get through, you know, the tough time with the facade improvement. So I'm hoping that we can find some middle ground to help get these banners back up.
Well, and I agree with you. One is, it's not an agenda item, so I think direction should be back to our city manager through staff. And I'm sure that you guys can come up with a resolution of some type. I mean,
We can bring a report back describing what the current ordinance is, and then open it up for discussion.
And talk to some of those businesses that were affected. And, you know, I have confidence that you and your staff will take care of it. Okay,
I also should add that while I have a business involved, it's basically a mail order company, so I don't really have customers here, so none of this is self-serving.
Okay. I had a question for you too, Ruben, before you step down. Why is it that you feel that the council positions need to be filled for the next 5 months? Do you think that the city could...
You mean as opposed to leaving 2 vacant seats until November?
For 10 meetings, yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that having a full council is more effective than a limited one. They tend to be divided no matter what happens.
I think you're right about the sensitivity. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to look at it, you know, as a cheap trick to get a candidate some free publicity before the election. So it's a sensitive subject. Luckily, Daryl and I won't have to deal with that over the next couple of months. So
Well, I think some of it gets to be a no-win situation, that people are going to see what they want to see and interpret it how they want. And I've brought things up like this before when it happened, but this way, if we go to who had the next number of votes in the election, it's out of everybody's hands. It's a fact. It exists. You can't change any of that. It's just a matter of saying those are the people we're going to choose. I don't know what criteria we use when they just picked people.
It's a good perspective. I appreciate it.
And, hopefully more people will be accepting of it. They can't say, somebody had a hidden agenda. It's not there.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jorge.
Woody?
Next speaker, please.
Well, on those flags, I think you ought to let them put the flags up. Business is rough. In my shopping center in Lodi, you can put all the flags up you want. And then, I don't know if you noticed now, but you got Mountain Mike's on Twin Cities Road. We have Mountain Mike's in our center, and I told him to call the corporate because I want a Mountain Mike's. He called them. It didn't even take him a week to get a guy to take that store and open it up. When you go in the driveway, you run into it. And then, we were going to open a smorgasbord, Twin Cities Road. And we talked to the builder there, and we talked to the contractor here, and a couple of them, and anyhow, we're getting hassled for plants. They want it to be just like that center. So we had 3 or 4 meetings with the owner. And after that discussion, my dad says, well, let's call Spanos. We called Spanos. Spanos says, I got 7 buildings that'll fit you. So we drove down there yesterday. And so I guess we're going to be taking it down there, $7.95 smorgasbord. All over a few plants. We wanted to put 16-foot waterfalls up, and I guess they don't want that either.
Are you talking about city restrictions, Woody?
Mm-hmm.
So the business climate hasn't really improved in the last 18 months, has it?
What business?
Has the business climate improved here in the city in the last 18 months?
When you have a smorgasbord, you really don't have to worry too much about it because they're going to come in and eat. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just saying, do you feel like we've become more business friendly recently?
I think they're non-business friendly.
Okay.
Too many. I got a whole list of stores. We went through Sunday 75 council meetings. I recall Barbara on tape at my dad's house. Went through 75. If you go through them, everything is no business, no houses, no nothing like that. We got a big pile of them if you'd like to go through a bunch of them. So anyhow, we moved it down. We're going to go down there. We'll still keep the pool store.
Thanks, Woody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next speaker, or was that?
That's all I have for you.
Oh, okay. All right. We will move into consent calendar.
I'll move the calendar as presented.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? None? I'm sorry?
No,
Was it?
no
Okay.
discussion.
What, a roll call vote?
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Clare?
Aye.
Councilmember Haynes?
Aye.
Councilmember Meredith?
Aye.
Mayor Shelton?
Yes. Aye. Scheduled matters, regular calendar, city council.
Resolution in opposition of new 2/3 vote requirement for public electricity providers, initiative, proposition 16.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add, Andrew?
No, I believe that our SMUD board member is actually here tonight, so I think it'd be appropriate to turn the floor over to her just to speak a little bit about why SMUD is in opposition to this. And a lot of my comments are along the same guidelines, but I'll make them after she's done speaking.
Okay.
And is that Nancy Thompson? Is
Mhm.
that who?
She,
I think Lauren wants to get
Okay.
Jimmy had stepped out for the FOIA area.
I'll take this time to apologize for my tardiness. I was subpoenaed as a witness for a National Labor Relations Board hearing that we had today. So the company that the hearing was with brought in an attorney from Georgia, and they decided to hold the hearing past 5 o'clock in order to get it over with in a day. So apologize.
She's here. She's coming up to the mic right now.
And maybe that's just for council. I didn't know if you had to cover it.
Well, thank you. You guys are quick there. I thought I could speak. I'm Nancy Bowie Thompson. I represent the City of Galt on the SMUD Board of Directors, and I'm here today as an individual member of the board representing the 7 board members that serve SMUD's territory. I'm here today to speak on behalf of my fellow board members in hoping that you will take a position against Proposition 16. You will be joining the California CSAC, you'll be joining the League of Cities, you'll be joining over 30 other cities, City of Folsom, City of Sacramento. Today I was proud to have our Sacramento County Board of Supervisors vote to oppose Proposition 16. First and foremost, Proposition 16 is a proposition funded by one company. I think any time that one company or one special interest funds a proposition, you have to wonder. You have to worry. Today it's about public utilities. Tomorrow it could be about insurance rates. It could be about schools. It could be about technology. To set the precedence that one company can spend enough money to change our state's constitution is scary. Secondly, there will be a significant impact, and I don't know if your staff, our attorney sent many city attorneys and other attorneys throughout California a staff report. Arlen Orchard and his staff declared to the board that it is quite scary, the prospects of what Proposition 16 could do to SMUD territory. What that could mean is the 2/3 voter requirement could mean, if you read it straight for the 2/3 approval of energy, is that we're not the sole provider of energy in SMUD territory. We still actually have PG&E customers. So that means that we are not the sole provider of energy. So any new development, any new residential, commercial development, technically, if you follow the letter of the proposition, would have to go to a 2/3 voter approval within SMUD territory. So that means if you plan to bring business to Galt, 1/3 of the population could say, no, we don't want you to deliver energy. We don't want you to deliver energy to this new development. We don't want that business to come to my backyard. That alone is very scary in this economic climate where we're trying to be the green hub of the country. We're trying to attract businesses from across the country and the world to come to Sacramento, as this is your haven for low, reliable rates. This is your safe haven for a responsible board of directors that will have 30% lower rates than the rest of the state of California, that will have a board that will do the right thing in terms of economic development. These are great boons for companies that come to Sacramento. And if Proposition 16 should pass, this would be all put at jeopardy. To say that we would have to litigate through many, many years just to serve is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, our attorney said that for us to continue just being a service provider to you and our neighbors here in SMUD territory, we might have to litigate in court. That's ratepayer dollars. That's your dollars and my dollars because we're community owned. And that is very scary to us. Third is, the whole idea of annexation has greatly helped SMUD and SMUD's customers. The City of Folsom, when they joined in 1984, they have saved, since then, just the City of Folsom alone has saved those residents $250 million. But the greater impact to Sacramento County has been $370 million. Just by having the City of Folsom within their service territory has had a significant shot in the arm to our economic development in Sacramento. So I would hope that you would want to continue the prosperity that we've had, the great respect that we've had as a utility, and continue the good work that the directors have really worked hard. The last 60 years hasn't been easy to keep our rates low, to keep our reliability rates high, and to have the high customer satisfaction that we have. And PG&E wants to come in and take that all away from us. They want us to pay the higher rates. They want us to stifle economic development, and we can't do that. In this economy, we need to be a leader in economic development. We need to be an attractor and not a detractor to the companies that might want to come to SMUD. So I urge you, people don't think this is something that's going to affect us in SMUD territory, but it is absolutely frightening what Proposition 16 could do to us here in SMUD. So.
Thank you. Questions from council?
Yeah.
Okay, this is an initiative that the voters are going to be voting on individually. Do you feel like there's not enough information here for them to get the idea about what's happening?
As you know, I don't know about you, but when I walk precincts here in Galt, a lot of people don't read that voter pamphlet. What they do is watch the news. And with PG&E, with a $38 million ad campaign, and just to give you an idea, we've raised $86,000. So the no side has raised $86,000 against $38 million. So it's very difficult when you hear on the radio taxpayers' right to vote, where people don't realize that taxes have no bearing on rates. It's a completely separate funding mechanism. I mean, we don't dip into your fund when we're having problems. We don't call up Sacramento County and say, hey, can you kick down some money for us to help us out? It's all completely separate, and so it's very hard for us. So I wish more people read the guide. I wish more people read newspapers. We have 18 newspapers that came out against it. I wish that people were more educated, but if you're just walking down the street looking at the signs and the billboards and listening to the radio, you think this is a good idea. I mean, if I didn't know, I mean, I would probably be like, oh, sounds like a good idea. So that's why we're trying to, spend the time in front of the cities. I mean, we've all, after even getting, the League of Cities, people said we can't stop there. We actually have to go to these individual cities one by one so we can educate, the 10 or so people in the lobby, because that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for each and every vote because we won't be on TV. We won't be on the radio. I made my lawn sign myself. It's a sad little sign, but it's in front of my lawn. I mean, that's what we're doing. We've made our stickers. We don't even have buttons. I mean, buttons are like a high top dollar item. We have paper. So that's why we hope by giving, you giving me this opportunity and the rest of us are going down the state. I mean, we're speaking at pancake breakfast, and I mean, you name it, somebody will be there if we're given the free opportunity, because that's all that we can do is hope for these free opportunities. So if you know any more, please let me know.
So how does it help the city, if the city comes out in opposition to that? How does it help?
Well, I think that, for us, it's educating your constituents. So I think there's still a lot of respect in the city council. So I think so. I think there's still a lot of respect in you as a governing board, that if, we can print in, or put on our website, I mean, that's really as much our Facebook to say that the city of Galt is in opposition. I think that alone, it still carries a lot of value. I think that, I think this is televised. So I know for us, we get about 19 people that watch us every week. Those 19 people that decide to watch your city council meeting. And what I think the benefit to you all is that you'll be standing up to protect the great rates that you have and protect the economic development that SMUD is able to give new businesses. I think you'll be able to stand up and say, we, the city of Galt, would like to continue to go forward and be responsible. And I think that carries a lot of weight with your friends and neighbors. So,
thank you.
Anybody else have anything else? We're good? Okay.
Was there questions from anyone else? Darrell?
No, thank you.
Okay.
So I appreciate, again, thank you. And if afterwards, if my information is publicly available, if you have any events that you'd like me or anybody else on board, that's what we're doing from now to June 8th. So I appreciate you spending the time today. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come.
Yeah, thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion, please.
I move to approve the resolution in opposition to the new 2/3 voter requirement for public electricity providers initiative, also known as Proposition 16.
And I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? None? Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Payne? Aye. Councilmember Claire?
Aye.
Councilmember Haynes?
Aye.
Councilmember Meredith?
Aye.
Mayor Shelton?
Aye. And thanks for coming down. Okay, next item, we have a city attorney's item.
LAFCO sphere of influence application.
Actually, that was put on the city attorney's item, but I did the report, so I'll give that to you. This is a follow-up on the sphere of influence application that's been pending at LAFCO. As you recall, back in January, this item was presented to council. At that time, LAFCO staff had indicated a change in the type of environmental document that they wanted to accompany our SOI amendment, which would have resulted in an increased cost and further delays in time, although we still have had some delay. As a result of that meeting, a subsequent meeting was held by a committee of 2 council members, Councilmember Clare and Meredith, met with board members Peterson and Budge, as well as LAFCO staff, and city staff attended this meeting as well. This was in March. At that time, as a result of the meeting, it was determined that LAFCO staff would in fact use the existing draft document that was done in December of '09, and that accompanying the application we would agree to certain terms or conditions in order to make that document viable in the opinion of LAFCO's council. Following that, staff met with LAFCO on 2 separate occasions, most recently May 13th. The attached are the terms and conditions that we have jointly agreed upon at this point. In reviewing these terms and conditions and comparing it to other SOI applications that have occurred over the last 10 years, these are substantially the same. They have the same or either the same or very similar requirements on all SOI applications. So we don't believe that we are being singled out or treated differently than any other jurisdiction as a result of these negotiated terms and conditions of our SOI application. I'll leave it at that unless there are specific questions that the council has with the specific terms and conditions. And I don't know, Steve, did you have anything you'd like to add?
I think I did want to add a few points that Kurt indicated that these were arrived at after a series of meetings and quite a number of emails. And what we were looking to assure ourselves is that these measures would be consistent with our general plan, they would be consistent with the conditions imposed on other agencies within the Sacramento area, and that these conditions not unnecessarily give other agencies authority over the annexation process in the future. And I think that we have accomplished those 3 goals through these conditions. But what is contained within these conditions are in fact very significant. They are some items that are going to require a lot of attention when in the future when folks choose to annex property to the city. And so before incorporating these into our application, we wanted to make sure that the City Council had an opportunity to review these items, to answer any questions you have, and to make sure that you were comfortable with the inclusion of these measures in our application going forward.
Comments by council?
I do have a question. It's my understanding that one of the things that we were not aware of was the requirements, well, I guess they're really not new requirements. We just weren't aware of some of the air quality requirements. And the reason I bring that up is that something that we should be making sure that we are aware when these new requirements, what I'm understanding is not that new, but when these requirements come forward, that we're not surprised by them. Is there a process that we're missing, or do we just need to pay more attention to it? Or
as it relates to the air quality district, they look to LAFCO in order to impose this condition. On development projects in the city, we send out for comments. The air quality district is one of those agencies. However, the city at that time is called the lead agency. You know, we solicit those comments, but in the case of the air district, their general policies are not necessarily mandatory on the city of Galt. Our general plan guides our decision making as it relates to air quality and this district. Now, they have been attempting to get the 35% standard for at least 10 years. I mean, this goes clear back to the Natomas program, or the Natomas project. So this is an opportunity for them to say, hey, LAFCO, we really think the region needs to be looking at 35%. LAFCO has agreed to that. For future annexations, that's going to be a condition.
What is it now?
In our general plan, it's 15%.
So what does that mean exactly?
It's a reduction of pollutants of 35% above what the baseline is versus 15%.
And how will we go about making
It can be
that?
achieved by a number of ways, by looking at mixed-use development, look at various types of transit, looking at even vegetation, biogenic plants. A lot of it has to do with transportation, public transportation. So there are a number of different ways that you can attain these points. The Air District will then have to work independently and separately with the city, because obviously Galt is different than some of the other communities in the county. We don't have mass transit available to us like other communities, so we'll have to look at other means in order to achieve the points necessary. It is not a hard and fast program. I mean, the Air District has some authority to grant additional points in certain areas. I mean, there is some gray to this. So we will be working very closely with the Air District in the future in order to attain their desired commitment in terms of air quality improvements. One other thing we can do is come up with our own air quality plan locally, which I would suggest we look at in the future, simply because that will set forth what all of the regulations are for all future development. So the development community has one document to go to and know what the expectations are. Until that time happens, we'll be doing this on a case-by-case basis.
Do you see this costing us more money?
This does not cost us more money
No,
tonight.
I mean.
Oh, it's going, yeah, it will. I mean, there's going to be a cost for
growth?
somebody. There's going to be a cost for somebody, yes. It may not be the city of Galt, but there will be a cost.
One of the things that was a big point they were trying to push was to have more homes, like 20 to the acre,
Correct.
denser,
Land use and density is certainly another issue.
and also to try to cluster the residential area around jobs,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, that's going to be difficult for Galt, since we're
Correct.
basically a bedroom community and people work in Sacramento. So I guess that's why I'm questioning.
Many of the same
How?
arguments we've made with air quality staff.
Okay.
Correct.
And I do want to say that I'm glad that our staff spent the time to pursue this further, because I think it benefited us and saved us some money and time in the long run. So thank you all for doing that.
I'd like to just add one comment on this 35% of air quality thing. It's kind of, I think it's kind of an artificial number, because if you look at the second half of the condition, it says 35% when compared to the potential emissions that could occur in the SOI area in the absence of policies included in the air quality management plan. Well, that second half of that statement is completely subjective. The planned AQMP has not been developed. What the potential emissions that could occur in the SOI area is subject to a lot of debate, and so it's kind of, it got to a point where we're arguing over 35% of this abstract whatever 100% is, and I think our perspective was that once the details were known as it relates to the second part of that statement, that was the time to really have the discussion with the Air Quality Management District. And the other thing that was difficult in these discussions was that they could in fact point to other annexations in other communities, the city of Sacramento, the city of Folsom, where the communities had agreed to this 35% number, and since the Air District had established that precedent, they were not willing to go back on that achievement by agreeing to any other number.
It doesn't sound like there's a lot of flexibility in their regulation. But again, thank you so much for pursuing that.
Any
Any other questions? Any other comments or questions from council? Okay, so the action is to receive the updated application process and provide direction to staff. So, direction to staff. Council?
So if there's, just to clarify that, if there's no direction that the council wants to provide, the city manager, through prior action of the council, has the authority to file the application and to take any necessary steps to pursue the application. And in the absence of council direction to the contrary, after this meeting, the manager would proceed to agree that these terms could be incorporated into our SOI application.
I think that would be fine, as far as I'm concerned.
Council concur?
Yep.
Okay, just need a nod.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. We'll move to the next item, Community Development Department.
California High-Speed Rail Project, request for direction related to environmental scoping plan.
Yes, members of council, members of the audience, Sandy's going to give you a short presentation on this, on the high-speed rail. We're looking for some direction from council with regard to preferred locations of the train station as well as routing of the high-speed rail in and around the city of Galt. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sandy Kiryu.
Good evening. As Liz indicated, the purpose of the presentation tonight is to get some comments for the California High-Speed Rail Authority with regard to the draft scoping plan for the Sacramento to Merced segment of the high-speed train route. I'll try and be fairly brief with some of the background. I think City Council heard from the authority back in January, but for the audience's benefit, I've put together just a short PowerPoint. The California High-Speed Rail Authority is a state entity. It was established in 1996, and it's directed by statute to undertake the planning and development of a high-speed rail system in California. The authority developed a business plan in 2000. It calls for 800 miles of dedicated, fully grade separated, state-of-the-art track with electrified trains capable of speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour. The idea is you'll be able to get from Los Angeles to San Francisco in just under 2.5 hours. The system is going to connect the San Francisco Bay Area, Sacramento, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Phase 1 is San Francisco to Anaheim. By 2020, they are projecting to include 86 weekday trains, 64 going between Northern and Southern California, and 22 that'll be shorter distance markets. An updated business plan was prepared for phase 1 of the project, which will, like I said, be from San Francisco to Anaheim. The only high-speed train station locations proposed are in the Sacramento to Merced segment, are Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto, and Merced. The Sacramento to Merced segment and the LA to San Diego segments are future segments after 2020 that will be constructed once funding has been identified for those. Now, in addition to the high-speed train project, there is an associated proposal being evaluated by the Sacramento, or by the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission to use those same tracks and provide a commuter train that will actually stop in several more cities, including Galt, and then it will ultimately connect to the ACE train that goes from Stockton to San Jose. As far as the environmental review process, the authority and the Federal Rail Administration are conducting a tiered environmental analysis. First, they adopted a program environmental impact report, environmental impact statement in 2005 to assess the broad overall environmental effects of the high-speed train system. Next was the Bay Area to Central Valley program, EIR, and about the same time, the voters approved Proposition 1A, which provided a good chunk of the funding for this project. For about the last year, the authority has now been working on the more site-specific environmental documents And they are now initiating work on the Sacramento to Merced segment, of which we're a part. This kind of shows the statewide map is on the left, again running from San Diego up to Sacramento and then also over to the Bay Area. On the right-hand side is the Sacramento to Merced segment. The authority has basically determined that there are two feasible routes between Sacramento and we'll go to Stockton for our purposes. The Union Pacific Railroad corridor, which is the one that runs right through the middle of Old Town, close to Highway 99, and then also the Central California Traction Line, which runs east of town, close to Herald. It's important to note that the high-speed trains by law cannot use the same tracks as the freight trains, but in order to minimize disruption, they're trying to stay as close as they possibly can to those existing rail corridors. But they will need to acquire 50 to 100 feet of separate right-of-way for the high-speed train. So the first thing that the authority is asking for direction on is what Galt sees as the preferred high-speed train route. Option A, again, is the Union Pacific Railroad corridor. That is also staff's recommendation. A couple of reasons. Both Lodi and Elk Grove have already requested this alignment. The commuter train, if that became a reality, would then be able to come through Galt and stop in Galt, thereby increasing economic development opportunities in the city rather than out by Herald. And finally, because the high-speed train rail must be grade separated, it cannot cross roads at the same level. That may assist the city's circulation system by helping us eliminate grade railroad crossings at Twin Cities, Elm, AC, F, and Cost. Like I said, the other option for a route is the CCT line going east of Galt through Herald. That line is not going to be as convenient to the ridership population center. There's no economic development benefits for Galt since they're going to be outside of the city limits and our future sphere of influence. Potentially growth-inducing outside the city limits, and it's more costly and inefficient to provide transit service to an outlying location. The one positive that we see is less potential for disruption to existing development. So the train route is the one issue. The next issue is a train station location for the commuter train part of the project. They've basically asked Galt to identify where we prefer to have that station so they can make sure they include it in the environmental document and then it gets analyzed. Staff has identified basically two options where we feel would be a good fit for a train station. First one would be the Old Town area, generally between A and F streets. It's an established area that could be business ready right away to support a train depot. We can build on our existing assets in the Old Town area. Has a lot of economic development potential to help revitalize that area. You get transit-oriented housing, retail services. There will also be a lot of infrastructure associated with the train station, a lot of parking. That could then be overflow parking for the existing businesses in that area. And lastly, it helps retain the historic heart of the community. That's where the old railroad depot was. It would be nice to kind of bring that same idea back to the community. And it creates a transit hub that's close to existing development, and then you can provide transit connections to the rest of the city. This map shows we can't seem to get direction from the authority as to the size of these stations. The high-speed train stations are 1,400 feet long and 500 feet wide. We've been told that the commuter train station will not be that large, but they can't seem to come up with a better parameter. So when we looked at the locations, we sort of looked at the worst-case scenario, and that's what the yellow rectangle represents. So this is a location in the Old Town that would be roughly between A and F streets. Option B is to look at our new growth area up by Twin Cities Road. Some positives for that site are that if we start off with transit orientation in our development plans, that can help shape sort of a new growth idea for Galt, more mixed uses, more walkable developments. If Councilmember Clare's vision for that area north of Twin Cities to be a large future employment center becomes a reality, This would be a convenient stop for that. It would also be convenient for future growth areas north and some of the area east of the city. The sites up there are not as constrained by existing development, but on the other hand, they could encourage and induce residential growth that's closer to our wastewater treatment plant, which we're not really recommending because of potential conflicts, natural resource areas like the Cosumnes River Preserve, and farmland in that area. And like the last time, we've kind of shown with the yellow rectangle approximate worst-case scenario dimensions for a station. We're showing it between Twin Cities and the wastewater treatment plant there. The last thing that the authority, they sent us a large data request sheet. They want information regarding potentially affected local community resources, including government buildings, environmental justice, which is sort of low-income or minority neighborhoods or businesses serving those communities, and similar features that they should be sure to include in an environmental analysis. Staff has prepared a lot of the information already. We've included the historic district boundaries that encompass a lot of Old Town, as well as all of the historic structures on our general plan list. Dry Creek is a scenic view corridor, Galt Cemetery, Harvey Park, 5th Street Fire Station, Police Building, the Municipal Services and Corporation government buildings, the Galt Place Senior Apartments project site, which is currently under construction because that's a low-income housing. All of our city utilities and infrastructure, like the Cost Road water tank and the wastewater treatment plant. But wanted to see if council had any other ideas and thoughts of resources that we should also include on that list that we have not considered. So the last slide is just a summary. We're asking for direction on these 4 bulleted items. The train route, the commuter train station location that we prefer, local resources to be identified, and if council has any other comments, we would pass those on along as well. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Comments from council? Barbara?
I have no questions. I would, of course, prefer the Union Pacific option with the station between A and F Street for all the reasons that you said, plus the nostalgic part of it of bringing back Old Town to life. Originally, when this high-speed train was brought to the public, it was really scary to think that we might have this high-speed train going across F Street, A Street, C Street, and I would have been opposed to it at that point because it would have been so unsafe. But with the grade separation, then that addresses that. So my preference, of course, then would be an Old Town Galt.
I had a couple thoughts. Obviously, it's something we've been working on for quite a while, the potential of getting an ACE-type train stopping in our community to take commuters up to Sacramento. So I'm very pleased to see this is just one step closer to that, and for that reason I would support the alignment that staff's giving us. The Historical Society also has information about what the original train station looked like if we ever had an interest to reconstruct something of that nature. But initially, all we need is what's known as a platform station, and there's a number of them already in existence that we could take a look at. It's really much simpler to get the service started. It's just a flat platform. If you've seen some of the more simple BART stations with a protective cover over the top. There's also rumor that if you've seen the Folsom recreated turntable for the old train area up in Folsom, that where the Diamond plant used to be, right near the feed store, that in the ground is still the original brick foundation of a turntable that used to exist in Galt. And obviously I think that'd be pretty cool if that could be located and part of a restoration as we went forward also. As far as the high-speed train, if that would allow our grade separations to be created that we sadly and badly need at their expense, that would be pretty fortunate. and I suspect those trains would move through our community much more quickly and much more quietly than we currently experience with the freight train issues. So I'm comfortable with staff's recommendation.
Yeah, I think since we've been talking about the high-speed train, we've always considered the downtown area being the best location, because that's where I think we would get the greatest potential out of it. So I definitely would support that.
I agree with the rest of the council. I think the Old Town area is the most logical choice for the station, and the Union Pacific rail line is obviously the most logical line for the authority to go with. It meets the goals that they're trying to establish with creating the commuter line in the first place. I am concerned, I know the staff report made reference to submitting the Twin Cities location as an alternative. I'm fearful that that could hinder our chances of actually getting a station. Do you guys see that as a viable concern? Just based on opposition, every time we talk about development in that area, you know, we're met with opposition from the environmental community. Are we concerned that that could hinder our chances of getting a station?
I think because we have an adopted general plan, and we can show that it would serve that area. I mean, if council's not interested in the Twin Cities road option, we can certainly just propose the Old Town option. We just thought that it might, you know, if we're going to have them evaluate things, that might be an alternative to evaluate.
I mean, from my standpoint, it seems like we can make a logical argument as to why the downtown location makes the most sense. It's got tremendous economic development potential. It's got an amazing potential to serve the needs of the community. Assuming that even if this thing got built by 2020, there was some marginal amount of growth in the outlying areas, it's still, you know, far-fetched to think that that development is ever going to get close to this by 2020, the Twin Cities location. So just it makes more sense from my standpoint to just go with the downtown location and just abandon submitting the Twin Cities location as an alternative.
Yeah, they're not asking for alternates, right? That was just
Yeah, they just wanted preferred location.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Focus on the downtown, not any distractions, but because that's really where we want it to be.
And I do like Daryl's idea of designing or trying to work with the design of the station and incorporating some of the original design elements of our train station. It'd be a neat element to add to the community. So I think that's a great idea.
So we'll add those comments.
We all agree. Okay.
So we'll go with just the one preferred location then.
Right. Direction from council.
Okay.
Do you need a motion here?
I think concurrence is satisfactory.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Did you have a comment, Daryl?
No,
No?
that's fine, thank you.
Okay, thanks. We'll move to the next item, which is Public Works Department.
Contract award for pedestrian safety crossing improvement project, CIP number 58.
Thank you, council members. I'm Paul Cavanaugh, your city engineer, taking the place of Greg Holliday this evening. Talking about trains, our next project is called the pedestrian safety crossings, and what it is the safety crossings for the existing train grade. They're not separate. They're at grade crossings for pedestrians on all the roads. So tonight, Trung here is going to give you a presentation to supplement the staff report, and at the end we'll answer questions, and then I'll reiterate the recommendation before council. Trung?
Yeah, I'm good. I might need that pointer. Hello? Hang on. Hello? Hang on. Oh, really? You guys hear me okay? Move up. More? Sandy had it all the way down here, so probably projects more than I do. Good evening, council members, honorable mayor. Tonight we are presenting the pedestrian safety crossing improvement project, CIP number 58N.
the presentation outline, we have 4 major areas of work that we would like to talk about that we've done within the last 3 years. First one is the council presentation on January 2007, the grant work, the work with Union Pacific Railroad, and within the last couple of months, the bidding and award recommendation. In January 2007, staff presented a program to improve the at-grade crossings within the city of Galt. There was 9 identified crossings. Lincoln Way has already been completed, and Moringa Road will be completed with the future development project. The remaining 7 crossings was studied, and we put it in on a priority list based on the constructability, the user amount, how much it would cost to install the crossings, and we listed the priority list. Originally, staff recommended that we budget $200,000 for the next 2 years, and we would improve essentially 3 to 5 of the improvements depending on what the cost came in at. We also mentioned that if we had grant money, that we would bring some of the lower priority projects forward. As a note, within this project tonight, the cost road improvements was moved to future years because due to some of the constructability issues. The funding, the budget funding just wouldn't support the work. Grant works. Staff applied for 3 grants. The first was the Federal Safe Routes to School grant, and we applied in December 2006. We received no money for that grant. The next 2 grants, the Safe Routes to School grant, the State Safe Routes to School grant, we received $470,000. $197,000 that was used to install the Safe Routes to School traffic improvement project. That project installed the in-road warning lights at Carillion and Lake Canyon, Walnut, and Elk Hill, in addition to flashers and radar speed display signs. The remaining $273,000 goes to this project, the pedestrian safety crossing project. The last grant was the California PED and pedestrian grant, and we were successful in $325,000. Originally, the funding allocation was supposed to be allocated at the end of 2008, but due to state funding shortfalls, it ended up being approved by the CPC in October of 2009 and ultimately obligated in December of 2009. The total project cost is $750,000, and we received close to $600,000 of grant money. Working with the Union Pacific Railroad has been a challenge. Originally, the city anticipated that we would pay for the full cost of extending out the panels and any electrical work that UP would require. In early 2008, Union Pacific, they had a program that would run through from Sacramento to Fresno, and they would actually come through and level all the ties out. They approached us and they asked if we provided support work, they would actually extend the panels for us. And this was only for the main track. We agreed, and essentially the support work included saw cutting about 2 to 4 feet beyond the tracks and installing asphalt and traffic control. As a note, the UP, the work only covered the main track location. The spur track or the ion track still was executed with the agreement. We executed that in February 2009, and the panel has been installed on Carillion, Elm and Industrial, and the electrical work has been installed also on Elm and Industrial and C Street. Staff estimated that we've saved probably between $100,000 to $150,000 in working with UP with the Gang Tie program. These are some pictures. This is city staff working with UT on the gang tie program. This is the 2 feet to 4 feet area that essentially the city cut out, and UP came and they leveled their tracks and the panels, in addition to installing the end panels. This is work at Elm McFarland. A Street, you'll notice the panel extension and the new asphalt work.
Before you leave, now where will pedestrians now be able to walk? Before they always had to get out into the traffic area. Is that changed now?
Right, that was the whole intent of this program. Essentially, before, this is a good example, before the panels ended here, and so pedestrians would actually walk, and they would be very close to the road here and cars. So what this project does is it extends the panel, and with this approval of this project tonight, we will install the site improvements up to this area here, so essentially separating or providing a separation from pedestrians from the cars. This is C Street, Street. This work here at Elman Industrial is work per our agreement. This is not with the gang tie program. You notice that the panels here and this flasher they put in for pedestrians walking this way. You know, this is a little funky design because the path is such that there's sidewalk here, and the path has to be perpendicular to the railroad track it comes across, and then it matches up with the other site improvements on the east side. This is Carillion. Both panels are in, so they're just waiting for the sidewalk to be in to match up to it. Within the last couple of months, staff, we bid the project, and we opened bids on April 22nd, 2010. And a day after we opened bid, the lowest bidder sent us a letter asking us to be relieved of bid. He made a calculation error. So within the public contract code, we are allowed to relieve him of his bid, and we can award to the second low bidder. We checked his bid packet, and there was an irregularity. He didn't submit two federal forms. We have similar language in our code that covers us, and it's considered a bid irregularity. And council can waive the bid irregularity and award to the second low bidder. With the award tonight, we expect construction to start in June and probably finish up in sometime in September.
Trung, if you don't have any questions, I'll read the recommendations tonight. First of all, we would like the council to consider adopting a resolution approving the filing of a CEQA exemption per section 15304 and section 15061, sections B and 3. Secondly, we'd like the council to consider waiving the irregularity that Trung described, except the late submittal of the federal equal employment opportunity and non-collusion affidavit forms that we do have on file, and authorize the city manager to execute a contract for pedestrian safety crossing improvements, CIP number 58N, with the Vanguard Construction Company in the amount of $272,153, and finally authorize the city Director of Public Works to accept the improvements and issue the notice of completion upon completion of work. With that, I leave it up for your...
Paul and Trung, can you let the council know what the engineer's estimate was on the project compared to the bid? I know we've been getting a lot of really excellent bids lately with the economy the way it is. A lot of contractors are really hungry for work, and so we've had significant savings on a lot of projects. I think this is another example.
Right. The bid summary is in the staff report. Trung, do you remember what the engineer's estimate was?
The engineer's estimate was $273,000. The lowest bid, Martin General Engineering, they were right around $30,000. $226. $50,000 less than what our estimate was, and the second low bidder is right around where we estimated the cost to be.
Can you read off the three lowest bidders again?
Yes,
Briefly.
Martin General Engineering was the lowest bidder that was relieved of their bid. They were at 226,363. Vanguard Construction, who is being considered for awarding it, came in at 272,153, and then Maxi-Crete came in it with a bid, the highest bid of 282,443. We only had 3 bidders for this project.
Any other comments from council? None? I'll ascertain a motion.
So move, staff's recommendation.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Can we do this all in one, or do we need to take each?
Oh.
No. Okay.
We can do it in one, right? Okay. No further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Claire?
Aye.
Councilmember Haynes?
Aye.
Councilmember Meredith?
Aye.
Mayor Shelton?
Aye. Okay. Thank you. We'll move to the next item, which is communications. Council, none?
I have none.
Okay. We will adjourn to the redevelopment agency. And if I could have the roll call, please.
Board members Payne?
Here.
Claire?
Here.
Haynes?
Here.
Meredith?
Here.
Shelton?
Here. Public comment? None?
No speaker sheet?
Okay. Information consent agenda items, we have 2. If you would read those off, please.
2 items, minutes of the meeting, approval of the minutes of the meeting of May 4th, 2010, and approval of the redevelopment agency warrants.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Not? Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Claire?
Aye.
Councilmember Haynes?
Aye.
Councilmember Meredith?
Aye.
Mayor Shelton?
Aye. Okay, we will now adjourn and reconvene to the Galt City Council. We have city clerk's report.
My first item at the meeting of May 4th, we had 2 potential for future resignations. Councilmember Meredith asked me to bring back a list of committees, which is attached to your staff report. At this time, you can just review the document. You can make reappointments as appropriate. And it's there for your review. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. Any comments from council?
Oh,
It'll be us 3 that'll have to make that decision.
we can leave the appointments as is, right?
We're going to leave them as they are now, currently,
That's
right?
up to council.
Oh.
If anybody
I
needs
would-
off, needs to get off a committee or something, would be the time
Well,
to
that's true.
do it.
Andrew or Daryl, do you feel that you need to be off like now, or?
I think it would be a good idea for both of us to start transitioning other council members into those positions.
I would agree.
And I would just add to that, that I have been attending as alternate, SACOG meetings as well as the SACOG committee meetings.
Yeah, I'd like to just make a motion if people are comfortable that Barbara just become the primary for SACOG.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable in that.
Yes, I'm good with
If you want to, for now, to put me as an alternate, that's fine, or whatever's comfortable.
Council's pleasure. Do you want to go through all of them tonight? I think both of you guys do want to do that.
It doesn't need to be agendized? That's not something that has to be?
It is agenda to make reappointments if
necessary.
Oh, okay, I thought maybe you had okay.
You list off the ones that would be vacated, Liz?
Sure. Well, we just talked about SACOG. The next would be the Sacramento Metro Air Quality Management District. Councilmember Claire sits on that. The CAST, actually both Councilmember Claire and Meredith sit as primaries. I believe Councilmember Payne is the alternate for our CAST committee. And the Galt Middle School JPA. That's all of Councilmember Claire's. Councilmember.
No, you want to read them all, or are we going to?
And then Councilmember Meredith is also Galt Middle School JPA, the CAS committee, the Greenbelt Steering Committee, and he sits as an alternate with the Sacramento Metro Air Quality Management Board.
It's the Green Print Steering Committee, just for clarification.
Oh.
It's okay. So seeing as though Barbara is currently serving as the alternate on the CAST committee, I'd be comfortable nominating her to fill that position. I just, question for the city attorney, I don't know how appropriate it is for Daryl and myself to even be participating in this, making nominations and actually concurring. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think we're going to punch a...
Yeah, I think it's well, whether the council members resign or not, the city members always have the authority to change committee appointments, and so it's certainly within your authority to do that and to participate. Both of you are still sitting council members. Neither one has resigned.
So is everyone comfortable with that recommendation for the CAST committee?
I'm good with that.
One of the spots.
Yep.
We would have a second. Usually we have 2 members of each board.
Primary, one alternate.
Oh, we have 2 primaries and 1 alternate.
Primaries.
Right.
Two primaries and one alternate. I'm comfortable in taking those on.
Okay.
Unless Don is interested.
No, I'm good with that.
But I
Don
could
would be
take
the alternate.
Don,
That'd be good.
the alternate?
Don alternate. You want to do that?
You can alter.
No,
We have to have two, and then an alternate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Alternate by default, actually.
Yeah, all right, then I would have to be, yeah.
I think either way,
Not
we're
that I
going to
think
be on it,
that-
Don.
but-
Don, either way, we're
By
going
default.
Okay. So, let's see, that would take care of, CAST and the Galt Middle School and SACOG.
Galt Middle School JPA,
Need 2 for that one as well, right?
2 for that.
I'm comfortable in doing one of those positions.
I can do it unless Don's available.
I see that's the hard thing with so many of these, that it's difficult for me to commit on those.
This, the JPA is really once a year to adopt the budget, and it's usually after hours, at 5:30 or 6.
Okay, if that's the case, then I can most certainly do it. Yeah.
So there's 2, right?
Okay, so that would be Randy and Don for the JPA.
Sure, I'm comfortable in that.
And then, with, Barbara as the alternate, oh wait, no,
Is there an alternate on that, or we should have one?
yes, there is.
Yes.
She's already the alternate.
You're already the alternate, yes.
Okay. Are you comfortable in that?
I am.
Okay.
For the Green Print Steering Committee, I'd like to nominate Councilmember Haynes to that position.
I'd like to do that one.
Do we have an alternate on that or not?
No, we don't.
No, okay.
And then that leaves the air quality seat, and that is one that meets during the day, so that's going to have to be either the mayor or the vice mayor to that one.
That has an alternate too.
They meet downtown Sacramento. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. I can be as an alternate, being that I already work downtown. It's much easier for me to meet those types of commitments.
What time do they meet?
9:30 on Thursdays.
That's the air quality
Yep.
managers board.
Fourth Thursday of each month, 9:30 to noon.
Is that the
Okay.
same time SACOG meets?
No, they're the third Thursday.
Okay.
But that is the same time, Barbara, that is the same time that the,
Senior.
what we just appointed you to, the
Oh,
library.
the library, that's right.
The library meets after lunch in the same location.
Okay.
Yeah, just make a day of it.
Okay. So then I'll nominate Vice Mayor Payne for that position.
Okay.
Second.
With Don as alternate.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
he's
Don
an
is
alternate.
alternate.
Air quality.
Okay.
Okay.
So, let's see, where are we now?
I think that's
I think that's it, isn't it? Or,
quality, air quality, CAST, JPA, physical green print, yes. That looks like we covered it all.
I think that took care of it.
Right.
If we missed one, I'm sure you'll let us know.
I will.
Okay.
We'll bring it back.
Okay?
If we missed it, then I missed it. And I just have a few reminders. Beautification Committee meets this Thursday, 3:30, City Hall Community Room. The Public Safety Committee bi-monthly meeting will be held on May 24th at 6 p.m. in the Pachetti Community Room. And that takes us to our next special council meeting, May 25th, next Tuesday, here in the council chambers at 7 p.m., which will be a budget study session.
Comments by staff?
The attorney has a comment, I believe.
I'd like to pass out a letter that was received from Attorney William Copper, addressed to members of the City Council. Was received earlier this week, I think actually yesterday. It notifies the city that he intends to file litigation challenging the approval of the Walmart project. This notification is something that is required under CEQA law, and I checked the court's database today, and the lawsuit actually is on file. The city has not yet been served, and after that lawsuit is in fact served, that will trigger a lot of statutory requirements under CEQA, and we will be reporting to the council about those requirements at a future city council meeting under a closed session item. Okay. Are there any questions I can answer this evening?
Questions?
I know that,
comments?
and just to clarify for the community, that the developer of that project, Walmart Stores Incorporated, they did make it clear to the city that they would indemnify us in regards to any costs relative to the litigation. And it's a noble gesture, but what I'd like to find out is whether or not there are other communities where they've made the similar pledge and the city actually had to burden some of the litigation costs. Are there any possible ways to get around the indemnification that we have on that?
No, there's actually not. There's an agreement that is in place between the city and Walmart that requires them to indemnify the city for any costs associated with litigation. In the event that they were to renege on that agreement, the council is never under an obligation to defend the litigation. You can always concede. But I did talk with Walmart's counsel today, and they confirmed that they know the agreement is there. They intend to abide by it. I also checked with the city of Lodi, which has also been going through a Walmart challenge, to see whether or not Walmart has abided by their cost agreement or indemnification agreement, and in fact they have been doing so. So I don't perceive that there's going to be any problem with this challenge.
So we're reimbursed for any staff time
That's right. It would be a reimbursement for any costs associated with defending this matter, whether it's inside or outside costs.
Is there a time frame on the repayment of staff costs? Like, can they just make us float the bill for?
No, it would. I'm going to go back and look at the agreement and see how it's structured, but my expectation would be that it would be on a monthly basis, that as the bills come in or as the cost is accrued internally, that the city would be reimbursed.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other staff comments? None? We'll move to comments by council members. Vice Mayor?
I want to report on the Sacramento Transportation Authority meeting I attended this past week. Since we're getting into budget time, I kind of like to let you know what not to expect. The abandoned vehicle abatement, which is $1 that we get for vehicle registration, actually has gone down, and they think it might be because of the, cash for clunkers. But at one time we were getting, abating for like 182 abandoned vehicles. The second quarter of the fiscal year 2009 to 10 was 76 vehicles. So that's gone down. Measure A, transportation sales tax. The tax is leveling off after a 4-year decrease. It declined from a high of 108 million to 78 million. Budget for the new year will assume 0% change in revenue. Also, I wanted to make note that we now have our handicap accessible door to the City Hall, since I've had interest in that. Felt like the Strawberry Festival was a success. Brought a lot of people to town. Congratulations to the Chamber of Commerce. And I did attend the CAS meeting yesterday, and we discussed the youth master plan. That's my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Clare?
I have nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Haynes?
Yes, the Strawberry Festival was a success, and it was a beautiful day. It was nice to see that. Also, there's currently the governor passed a new legislation on a gas tax exchange, if you will. This gas tax, what it's supposed to do is it's a gas tax swap exactly. So it's swapping sales tax with an excise tax, another tax on the cost for gasoline. So if you've read about it, it's not going to be any cost. It does not appear, correct me if I'm wrong, but it does not appear to be any burden on the city. So if anybody who's read about that, you don't have to be concerned about it affecting our budget. So that's the good news on that. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Meredith?
No comments.
Okay. Well, I had the opportunity to go to the California Chamber Host Breakfast this morning. Governor was there. There was businesses, several military, actually several thousand people, and people all the way from like San Diego were there. It was very good. It talked about California-grown produce was the main theme. Talked a little bit about the economy and the state budget. I also had the opportunity to attend the ribbon cutting for the CSD, our fire department. They actually had a opening for their new maintenance shop, and we went from there to their administration to a temporary fire station. So that was attended by, I think, a couple hundred people. It was very good. Congressman Dan Lundgren was there just for a few moments just to say hi. I think that made them feel very well, very good. I also attended the Running of the Berries. I was the alternate, and our individual on the right, I won't say his name, couldn't make it, but I didn't run for you. Okay, I did not run. And attended the opening festivities for the Chamber's 15th annual Strawberry Festival, which I understand was very successful. So with that said, we will not adjourn. Actually, we will reconvene back to a closed session. Okay?